You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time to begin once again here on the bi-weekly options feast. That is the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting Options Insider Radio Network. I'm a little out of breath because I was running all over the studio right before we started the show, making sure everything was up and running. But we're good to go here now. And, of course, you're always good to go to listen on demand on just about any platform under the sun. If you want to go Audible, YouTube, Apple Podcast, we don't judge. Wherever you listen, if you like what you hear, keep rating, reviewing. There are a metric ton of new people discovering the options market every day. So they need a helping hand guiding them to the world of options. A lot of them just go to the iTunes store, Apple store, and say, type in options. Say, what do I find? And a lot of them go to this show. A lot of them find their way to Options Bootcamp and other things like that. But the reviews do help them find a path to our door. And of course, if you have a question or comment, hit us up. We do love to hear from all of you folks out there. Let's see who we're hearing from on the show today. Let's go out first to the quiet, the tranquil hamlet known as St. Charles, where we are joined once again by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the program, sir.
Always happy to be here, broadcasting live from the shores of the Fox River.
Indeed, sir. Uncle Mike, you know what I found when I went to put my awesome Brutus the Barber Beefcake grooming kit, which he did like, and you were involved in that liking and retweeting. You know what else I found in that same box, Uncle Mike? It was a sticker.
What?
Guess for what tag team? Dare I say it, the best tag team on God's green earth?
Well, based upon your opinion of the best tag team on earth, I'm guessing you'll say the Demolition.
Yes, there was the Demolition sticker in there as well. So I need to find a place. I need to find a place to put that up somewhere here in the studio. So we're 2 for 2 on that one. Now I need to tweet out Demolition, see what they say as we keep on rolling. I can hear the Rock Lobster already rolling his eyebrows. He's like, it's not Monday. What are you guys doing? We are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the program on this fine day where it seems like we're red, then we're green, then we're kind of mixed, sir.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit of all of those things. I do have sympathy, though, for the listener that wrote in and said, how much time are you guys going to spend on this wrestling thing? Can't you just get to the options already? So I realize how happy you are when you talk about Brutus the Barber Beefcake, or whatever his name is. So I'm glad that you guys have been able to connect with your idol via social media.
Well, you and that one guy are outweighed by the legion of people who do enjoy the Monday episode, the kickoff to the Monday show. As we keep on rolling, it's time to kick off the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades and trends in the world of options. It's time for The Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to The Trading Block, the portion of the show where we're doing just that. We're seeing what the heck is trading out there. And coming into showtime, we are seeing, like I mentioned, a bit of a mixed bag out there. We were looking red mostly across the board earlier in the day. Now we're 2/3 red and 1/3 green. Dow up 0.17%, S&P down 0.17%, and the NASDAQ feeling firmly off 0.8%, of course, on the heels of maybe some less than encouraging news about Omicron and the vaccine, and of course, Evergrande. The thing everyone was so scared about a month ago or so, Evergrande defaulting, it seemed like it's finally happening. The markets seem to be mostly shrugging all of that Omicron and indeed Evergrande news off. Not really a crazy day out there on the street. What is crazy is just how much vol has come in over the course of just this past week, listeners. The VIX coming into showtime was right around the 20 handle, which puts it down 8.25 points from our last show. So everybody who had 20 or below on our last poll last week, I was with you. In fact, I was fading VIX coming into this week. Didn't quite last. Oh, that VIX expiration on a Wednesday. You know, if it just went through to Friday, how nice would that be? But c'est la vie, a conversation for another day out there. But yeah, we're hovering on that knife's edge, that precipice, listeners, of will VIX make it below 20 or will it stay above by tomorrow's close? Well, get in there at options, make your voice heard. A lot of you have already. It is a contentious fight, to say the least. Also coming into showtime, VVIX down a whopping 30 points from Monday's show. 117.5. It was 147.5 on Monday's show. So this gives you some sense of how low this thing can go. VXX, right before we kicked off the show, was at 21.75. That puts it down almost 5 points, about 4.75. It has now dropped about 21.5. So that puts it down exactly 5 points from where it was this time on Monday's show. UVXY, same deal, was about 15.75. That puts it down exactly 6 points. I think it's closing in on 15.5 now. So that puts it down about 6.25. 16.25. That'd be quite the week for Vol. And Vol Q, when we kicked off the show, was a little bit north of the 21 handle. That's about 21.25. Puts it down about 4.75 points, I should say. And it's pretty much still there. So about 4.75 points to the dark side. If you want to know more about Vol Q, of course, check out our great pro Q&A session with its creator, Scott Nations, where you guys got the chance to get at him with your questions in the hot seat on Tuesday. If you missed it, of course, you can check it out over there, theoptionsinsider.com/secret club. All right, let's go around the horn. Let's go the way we came. Let's kick it off in Uncle Mike land because it's kind of bullish, kind of bearish day. Let's see if he can lift all of our spirits. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, what is lighting up your tape?
Well, in terms of what's lighting up my tape today, we are roughly 1% off of an all-time high right now in the SPX, and where the rally stopped, so to speak, was right around the 4,700 level. So if you look at the day that we had earlier this week, to where we had the big rally, and we're just in rally ho mode, I believe, as Mark would say. So that would be on 2 days ago, on Tuesday. We really couldn't push past that 4,700 mark. So we got to 46.94, and we rallied early, and it just kind of sat there up high the rest of the day. And so right now, 4,700 appears to be kind of a tough nut to crack for the market. I think if it does, we could continue to go higher. But what else is new? I always think we can go higher. But for right now, I see that as kind of a roadblock that the market's going to have to overcome. And the last couple of days, we really have not had, really just haven't had quite the push to get over it. Because yesterday, our high, well, I shouldn't say, we did get to 47.05 for a little bit yesterday. And we did technically close at 47.01, but we're below it today, and just still seems like kind of a thorn in the side of the market at this stage. And so I think with that, we also have the 10-year note that has a little bit further to drop till it gets to the lower end of its range that it's been doing over the last couple months. Not a ton, but a little bit is definitely towards the lower end of its range. It's been selling off. It's rallying a little bit today, but it has been selling off this week. So we do have the bonds, I guess, agreeing with the market in that there's risk. There is a rush to risk, so to speak. and being people are fleeing from bonds and going on to more higher risk assets. So with those things in mind, we have this roadblock in place, but we could easily get through it. We just need more buyers than sellers. In terms of the news that's going on with this, I said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think Omicron is going to kill this market. So I think that we're obviously not out of the woods with the whole COVID thing, but from the standpoint of the market's obviously said, well, who cares? And has gone a lot higher over the course of the last couple of years, or year and a half, or whatever it's been. And I think that going into the end of the year, if we can break through this 4,700 mark and then make new all-time highs next week, we could have the Santa Claus rally, but time will tell.
We had a brief Santa Claus rally in small caps, and then they got devastated. They had an actual official correction. So you want to learn more about all things small caps, all that fun stuff, stay tuned for TWIFO in a little bit. Got a fun kind of double TWIFO. The first half's going to be your movers and shakers and everything else you guys expect. Second half's going to be my conversation I had earlier this week with Mr. Tim McCourt, guy who's launching all the new crypto products over there at CME. What are they going to do about BITO and the position limits, all that craziness? What the hell's up with these micro ETH futures? Tune in to find out. It's coming up in a little bit over an hour from now. But let's go back around the horn to the land of the lobster. He's not busy talking to us. He's out there fighting clam pirates and maybe fishing for his own lobster. Probably got some traps working out there right now. Mr. Rock Lobster, A, do you have any lobster traps in the offing right now? And then B, aside from that, what's lighting up your tape, sir?
I have to, you know what? I'm a little lazy, although I do have I am prepared this summer for lobster trapping. I have acquired said traps. My boat works. The motor actually works. So I'm ready. I even have oars in case the motor doesn't work and I get stuck out there. So this will be we're going to pop probably one or two traps in and see what we can do. So if you ever come and visit the shores of Maine, we will fish you out a tasty lobster. You can have the joy of pulling your own lobster out of the water if you so choose. So as of right now, though, I think you've got I agree with Mike on this, the cross currents between the Chinese, the Chinese with this Evergrande thing and maybe just screwing foreign bondholders. I feel, again, we talked about this with our little adventure in EDU, right? Where how far are the Chinese willing to go to kind of go back to that, way back when policy? Oh, look at you. You were spared. Look at EDU is ripping 220. So that policy in I don't remember which emperor it was, but he basically closed off from Western civilization. There's historical precedent, albeit 500 years ago or 800 years ago, wherever it was. So I don't know how far that will be, how much they could basically just, China now is a very strong economy. But, how people, we'll see how China reacts to this new Xi regime. I was just talking to one of the guys at Option Pit, Bill, who's our fixed income guy, but he's looking at KWEB, the Chinese internet stocks like that. You want some cheap technology stocks? Go there. Why are they so cheap? Nobody knows what's going on over there. The Chinese are just going to say, well, you have an equity stake, but now you don't. So apparently, there is a 3-year kind of get out process, but still, I think there's questions there, right? So that's going to, Bloomberg even reported that Apple paid the Chinese government $5 billion to operate in China. I think that's a rumor. It was reported on the tape in Bloomberg by, I think, The Hill. Not sure if it's true or not, but I mean, if you have to pay protection money to do business in China, maybe Trump wasn't so crazy after all about tariffs and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's just that whole China question I think there's a lot of question marks. None of it's hitting the headlines. I I think in a big way. So we'll see. As far as, the Chinese, I'm sure, are happy to just sell products to everybody. But as far as doing business in China, like it's, again, a lot of questions. So I don't know how much that affects us or the U.S., but I think that it has let's say a slight destabilization. I think the Omicron thing is totally blown out of proportion, but that won't stop the media from just grabbing it and blowing out of proportion. And, Fauci goes on and says everybody has to get the shot and you can't talk to your people at Thanksgiving, like all this stuff. So, I mean, I think that weighs on stocks, but, none of that is super positive news, to be honest. And stocks are still right at all-time highs. So, I mean, we're at all-time highs. What are you going to do? Don't be surprised if the market sells off a little bit or something like that from up here. I think the big question is just the Fed next week. What will come out of the FOMC? There seems to be a little like the Fed's going to take a more hawkish stance now that Powell is, secured a 4-year term. I don't know how hawkish he's really going to be, but at least we're going to start some sort of sanity again. There's no reason the Fed should be buying government securities. The government's going to have to stop spending money at some point. So anyway, these are all questions. None of them are answered. We might have some more answers by next week. But I guess it's, again, I'm kind of waiting and seeing. I don't think we get a lot of action between now and next Wednesday, but I could be totally wrong. But I think it's going to be kind of a bit of a sleeper over the next few days.
You're right. What's not a sleeper? You just mentioned it. Apple kind of on the tear right now, up 25 handles almost over the past month, or 16.5%. You're right, on the heels of, they paid effectively extortion money to the Chinese government. It is interesting the market rallies this because, near term it is good for their business. But of course, you have to imagine there's a whole swath of the U.S. Congress and Senate that are looking at that and kind of scratching their chin saying, you paid what to who? So they're already a little bit dicey on big tech. It's probably the one issue that is bipartisan. Both sides of the aisle seem to have their knives sharpened for big tech. So now the news coming out that Apple secretly cut a huge deal with the Chinese. I can't imagine that's going to sit well, but that's just me. But the stock is rallying like mad. Since we're talking about Apple really quickly, I was going to say this for the mail block, but we're already there. Apple right now, market cap, almost 2.9 trillion. We were just talking about it was hitting the 1T level. Oh my God, a $1 trillion company. How insane. We're almost 3x that. In fact, we got a question right now in the live chat. He said, Mr. Unlimited wants to know, what do you guys make of this Apple run? Is it going to 3 trillion? Mr. Uncle Mike, you used to be our resident Apple head. What are your thoughts on these latest, proclamations from Apple, or I guess maybe secret proclamations? And you think we're hitting the 3T anytime soon, sir?
Well, if we're at 2.9, it's going to be tough not to get to 3T, I wouldn't think. So it's Apple. Apple's still a holding in our portfolio, and this is just a company that you and Sebastian used to make fun of me for holding so much and having such a big position in. And but now it seems like if I were you, I'd start making fun of me for getting out of it when I did.
Yeah, what are you doing getting out of Apple? You're crazy. What's wrong with you?
It's insanity. I mean, like I said, we still have it as a holding, but I'm not as overweight as I was back in years 1 through 3 of the option block when it was the daily segment of Mark and Mark bashing on Uncle Mike for having so much Apple. But I'm curious. They're doing this move out of power because of the innovations that they have. They're good. They're making their products better, but they haven't had a world-changing product since the iPad. And so and don't get me wrong, they're very phenomenal products, but they're just taking good products and making them better. And so if they do have another world-changing product, or maybe their Apple Car in a couple of years is going to be something that is totally different than anything anyone's ever seen, who knows? But for the time being, I think this is just a case of a powerful company using its power to become more powerful and doing a darn good job at it.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Rock Lobster, that same listener says he also wants to go lobster fishing with you, and he says he will be willing to row. So given my historical aversion to all things shellfish and just in general seafood, maybe I'll cede my seat to him. What do you say, Mr. Rock Lobster?
So you have an aversion to shellfish. You never actually have consumed a tasty lobster.
I've had lobster, I've had clams, I've had fish. I just don't like any of it. So yes.
I'll tell you what, Andrew. I'll tell you what. If you want to come out here, I'll take you. We'll go fishing for catfish in the Fox River, and then I'll come out to your place and we'll go fishing for lobster. That seems like a fair trade, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I would do that.
There you go. You guys debate shellfish etiquette while I keep on rolling here with the show. People are going to be writing in now. Why are you talking about shellfish so much on the show? VIX putting up some decent numbers today. The ADV also skyrocketing. Remember, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about it was threatening to break 400K, get back into the 380, 390 range. Now we're talking 684 coming into today. So it's up pretty much 300,000 contracts over the past few weeks. VIX right now looking light comparatively, only in air quotes, 329,000. That would have been a robust day not too long ago, but it's still, the day is young. SPY putting up some numbers already just a tick under 2 million, 1.98 million right now. The ADV, 5.5 million. So still got a little bit ways to go. Not even half a day's worth of paper in SPY either, which is kind of interesting. What is really interesting is the S. The S is kind of the laggard of the bunch today. Only 608,000 contracts. That's light for a normal, quiet, random day of the week, let alone a day like today where things are moving a little bit. The ADV out there is a little bit over 1.6 million. The Q is already at 1 million, exactly 1 million actually right now. The ADV is 1.72 million. Will they hit that today? Seems like a bit of a struggle, but we shall see. And small caps, at least the IWM flavor, at about 350,000 contracts, ADV 961. What's up with We'll find out a little bit later today. Let's move on out now to the single names. What's lighting it up? And this will also show you, maybe it's a little bit quieter day than the overall numbers might imply, because it only cost you 231,000 contracts to break into the top 10 today. That's almost 100,000 less than we have seen lately out there. So interesting. That gets you all the way to Ford. 231 gets you to Ford, number 10. Number 9, AMC. Do I see the other half of the symbol? Yes, I do. So both of them are newly minted symbol twinology. Our new phrase of the week here. Number 9, AMC, 238,000. Number 8, good old DOCU, DOCU, of course, DocuSign out there, listeners. That's one we haven't seen on the top 10 in a little bit. Trading about 151, a little bit shy of that today, off nearly $3 or nearly 2%. Still good for the number 8 spot, nearly 250,000 contracts. Number 7, Roku back in the top 10. Haven't seen them in a while. I guess the set-top box volatility finally fizzled out. 310,000 contracts. Before all these meme kids took over, Roku was a perennial top 10er, not so much anymore. Number 6, NVIDIA, of course, they're always in there. Today, number 6, 345,000. Number 5, the other half of our symbol twinology. AMD, 363,000 contracts. Number 4, good old Facebook, or is it Meta? Or who knows what the hell it is anymore. 376,000 contracts, though, for number 4. Number 3, you got to have an EV in there somewhere. No NEO today, which is weird, but we got Lucid firm at number 3, 440,000 contract. Let's see what's up with Lucid really quickly. Off nearly $6 or 13.25%. So a rough day for EVs, listeners. Lucid back below where it was trading a month ago. Got down a little bit shy of 41 and already back below that. So Lucid still up quite a bit from where it was late October, $27. So got a ways to go to the dark side, but maybe all this SEC news not exactly lighting things up out there in Lucid land. Number 2, talking EVs, you got to talk the big dog. That's Tesla. Again, kind of light, only 635,000 contracts. That's a decent, but that's not a ton for Tesla. Tesla still flirting with that 1,000 level. Looks like it kind of wants to break it today, but not quite there yet. Off about 45 handles. Still trading 1,023.5 or so. Can it break the 1,000 level again? It's been flirting with that level back and forth and back and forth. It broke it on Monday, got down to 975, and then it kind of rebounded again up to about 1,070 or so. But still, looks like it wants to go back below the 1,000 level. Number 1 is the big dog. We were just talking about him. It's freaking Apple. Secret payments to Chinese government. Who knew that's all it took to get them to this next level? We were just talking about them maybe topping out and kind of stalling a little bit earlier. Wasn't that long ago? Weren't we just talking on the show not long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, but there were some puts I forgot what the level was. Was it 125? People were kind of scared to sell puts in Apple, which is a strange thing to say, but people were talking. Maybe the worm was starting to turn. And here, all it took was, nearly $1/3 of $1 trillion secret payment to China. Good for 2.04 million contracts, though. That's nothing to sneeze at. The market is liking what Apple's up to. Of course, a lot of this, if passes prologue, is going to be in those weird weekly Apple calls that seem to just trade like candy these days. Folks just love those things. Well, I'm going to assume there's a lot of that going up again today. And if you had, guess what? If you had those crappy Apple calls, you're looking pretty good. The stock's up over 10 handles in the last day. Usually those are near at the money calls. So whoever's been loading up on those probably laughing all the way to the bank today. Let's see this week what we got from an overall earnings move. Actually, we have hot off the presses earnings move results reports, courtesy of our friends over there in Orat's Land. Let's look at some hot names. By the way, we got some decent names still popping off this week. Tuesday, we had Dave & Buster's. Wednesday, Campbell's Soup, a literally hot name because you have to eat the soup hot, usually. Vera Bradley and GameStop. Hormel Foods on Thursday. Lululemon, of course, today as well. CHWY, Costco, Broadcom, and Oracle. Let's look at some earnings move results. Let's go out to the name that kicked off the insanity that has been 2021. Yes, we can lay it all at the feet of Game. What even are they anymore? Are they struggling? Are they struggling video game retailer? Have they morphed into something else entirely? Are they just a crazy stock float game now at this point? Who knows? What are they? But they are trading quite a bit. Let's see. Not enough to make our top 10 on the options front, which is kind of interesting, but AMC still trumping them there. But GameStop coming in after the bell yesterday, they were at 173.65, listeners. And let's see, they were pricing in 12.1%. So that's a decent amount of juice. And they moved 6.5%. Let's see, they were at 162 when they ran this report this morning. They're at about 161 right now. So they have moved a little more. They're closing in on the 8+% range. We're still not at the 12% that they were pricing in. So it looks like GameStop, one of our underperformers here on the season, a rare underperformer, given the fact that all these names have been kind of popping off of late this cycle. What else did we have popping off before the bell or after the bell last night? We had Ciena. They were before the bell today as well. Ticker symbol CIEN, of course. They were trading 62.20. They were pricing in about 8%. They delivered nearly 16%. So they blew the doors off, listeners. Wow, Ciena, one of our more aggressive outperformers out there today. But actually, looks like the one that's really crushing it right now is not a name I'm that familiar with. This is Torrid Holdings, Inc., ticker symbol Curve. This is a women's retail chain. Oh, Hot Topic used to own this, and they spun it off. And now this is a plus-size women's clothing and accessories chain. Interesting. Ticker symbol Curve. They were at $15.65. They popped off yesterday after the bell. They were pricing in, get this, listeners, 2.9%. So they were pricing in a whole hell of a lot of nothing. They delivered 22.5%. My goodness. This thing is rocking, and it's moving even more now. It's probably up about 24, almost 25% now. Yeah, went into their announcement 15.65. It popped off this morning to 12.14. Now trading about 11.67. So this thing, wow, this might get our outperformer of the season award here. It outperformed by nearly 700%. My goodness. Curve, who knew? Now we know. We're going to keep watching this one going forward. Speaking of going forward, let's look really quickly at some of the other names we have popping off. We have Lululemon after the bell today. Again, freshly updated earnings move reports as well for you folks, listeners. 426 was where Lululemon was trading. They were pricing in 32.20. In the past, they moved 29.33. So a little bit extra juice, not a ton, but a little bit. That used to be a recipe for a disaster. This cycle, maybe not so much. Costco, they are today after the bell. 530.11 is where they were trading. My goodness, for Costco. They were pricing in about $15, $14.95. In the past, they moved about $12, $11.98. So extra juice for Costco, given what we've seen out there and all these rumors about toilet paper shortages and things. Maybe not surprising that there's a little extra juice in Costco land. CHWY, ticker symbol CHWY. They're trading right about $60 going into their announcement. They're after the bell today as well. They were pricing in $7.81. Get this, listeners. In the past, they've moved $3.70. So they are pricing to knock the cover off the ball or to blow the doors off to the downside, one way or the other. They're pricing in some juice, listeners. Wow. CHWY. Interesting stuff out there. Let's go to, we got one more after. Actually, coming up, this is next week. We'll do a quick preview of them, though, just because people like all your electric motors names. Of course, we got RIVN. They're next week on the 16th. So still some names popping off in the next couple of weeks, listeners. They're pricing in 122.12. They're trading at 122.12. And the price in the past, they've moved 15 and about a half. And of course, we have no past history for this name. So we have no idea if that's a lot or a little. I guess we'll find out collectively next week on the 16th. Meanwhile, it's time for us to find out what the hell our Eye of Sauron has on the brain. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody. Let's do it. Let's unleash the Eye of Sauron, see where it fixes its fiery gaze today. Oh, we're kicking things off with one of my favorite tickers, which I'm sad to say may not be one of my favorite names for much longer. I'm not talking about the stock and how much I like the stock. I just love the name. I think it's ridiculous. The Walgreens Boots Alliance. Yes, sounds like a straight out of Star Trek. Our across the pond retail pharmaceutical alliance. Who talks about alliances in corporate mergers? But apparently Walgreens and Boots do. I have heard perhaps there's rumors that the Boots part may no longer be around. So who will they be allied with? So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on. Yeah, they're unraveling the alliance. I just love saying that. It cracks me up, listeners. Let's see. Let's go out here. WBA, of course, is the ticker out there. Trading right now, $49.50. Had a decent year, up about 18%, about 765. They sold off last year. They got to their low in late December of last year, so 39.34, right before all the madness popped off. And when the madness started popping off, they actually did all right, too. I guess folks decided they needed to hit the old Walgreens Boots Alliance for some over-the-counter medications because they rallied pretty quickly by, let's see, they were shy of $40 to end the year. By end of January, they were 51.18. And then by the end of March, middle of March, March 15th, they were 55. They kind of gave it up again down to 46 by March 4th. And they rallied again, March 15th, up to 55 again. It's like they topped out for the year on April 5th. They're at about $57 exactly, pretty much. And then they kind of hovered near that level for a while until the low 50s by late June. Then they got clipped on June 30th. They went from about $53 down to, by July 19th, they were trading 45 again. And they've kind of been bouncing in this mid 40s to low 50s range pretty much ever since. They had a brief sell-off November 11th. They went from about $50 down to 43.75. And then they've rebounded immediately since, back up to where they're at now, $49.50. So outside of this quick sell-off they had over the past week and change, and I think you can probably realize what that was attributed to. They hit their recent nadir back on December 1st. But outside of that, they've been kind of bouncing around in this mid to high 40s range, low 50s range for pretty much the better part of since mid-July. So kind of where they're hanging out. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron found out here in perhaps the soon-to-be done Walgreens Boots Alliance sad tier. Let's go out here to, let's see, yes, puts. We got looks like some line in the sand puts, Mr. Rock Lobster. Going out to March 42 half. So we're talking about $7 out of the money right now. Paper blasting away at these 6,044 times. They sold them for 94.5 cents, which is interesting because they were bid for 97 cents. So clearly that bid was not good for 6,000. They had to crush it a bit to get it all done. If you're wondering, it's about a 33 vol when you add it all up at the end of the day here. The stock was a little bit lower. It was 48.93. So these are probably looking a little bit better right now. But again, you're out to March, so not a huge delta on these bad boys. Let's see. The next earnings is in January 6th. Mr. Rock Lobster, it's your old favorite, the line in the sand put, this time in the comically named Walgreens Boots Alliance. And also, What are your thoughts on this aggressive, at least from an execution perspective? I'm not sure about price level. $7 lower, that is pretty much right, a little bit north of the 52-week low, which is $39. So not quite there. We're pretty close. What are your thoughts on these line in the sand puts, sir?
Well, personally, I think it's a good line in the sand put. I don't think Walgreens has seen below 40 since the pandemic. So personally, I think that's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good place to be with that stock. So I kind of like it as a return on equity. What is it? A May put, I think, or they sold March. They're selling the March 42s, and they are. I'm looking at it right now at 90 cents. So okay, they're gonna pull 2% till March on margin, on like all in margin. I think it's for a line of the sand style put. It's not bad at all. So I think it's a pretty decent sell. And people are like, hey, I don't know if we're going to make any money between now and March, but I'll sell that juicy vol and go on. So I kind of like that put as a way to get into Walgreens, actually, if you're interested in that, because it's I think this pandemic, their business only is going to grow. It's not going to shrink. So people, and they're making all of their facilities more outpatient facilities. So I own quite a bit of Walgreens, from prices all the way from 60 to 30, I think, or less over the years. So, I like this it pays a huge dividend. So again, if it's a more what I would call an income style trade, if you're looking for big capital appreciation, it is not this stock, although maybe one day it might be. But yeah, they're all over Europe, the UK, and the US, except San Francisco. So they closed their San Francisco stores because everybody kept stealing all the lipstick.
So are you sad as a stockholder they may unravel the Boots Alliance, sir?
Oh, really?
That's the rumor. That's the talk. That's going the way of the dodo.
Wow. I'm not sure. It's possible that has been underperforming just because Europe has been such a crap show with all the mandates and stuff like that, where people can't go shopping. It's like you can't go shopping without your shop. So I would be surprised, because the CEO of Walgreens now is the guy that came from Walgreens or came from Boots. So I don't know. Questions? I don't know, but it's still my favorite pharmacy. So that's I'm going with that. I don't like CVS stores relative to Walgreens, but Walgreens seems to get all the love. So or CVS gets all the love. But
there you go, listeners.
Anyway, we'll see how it shakes out.
By the name where Andrew buys all of his drugs. There you go. By the way, before you write in, I know the name of the company is Alliance Boots overseas, but that's another thing. It's Alliance Boots. So why is it the Walgreens Boots Alliance? Why is it the Walgreens Alliance Boots? So the fact that they wrote Alliance last makes it sound like they're trying to implicate there is an alliance, which again goes back to my Star Trek analogy from earlier in the day. It just cracks me up. Walgreens Boots Alliance. I could see them uniting together to face down their common foes. Good stuff. We shall see if the Rock Lobster's love of these puts is merited or if he is throwing good money after bad. We shall find out. As we go on out, we thought this next guy or gal was throwing some good money away as well. We came back. This was on October 28th. Let's do a quick review list. We got to start paying some off, listeners. Our cup is going to explode. But on October 28th, we came onto the show, listeners, and we saw people have been swinging for the fences for a while in Ford. Ford had a nice run. It was trading right around $17.20 when this trade went up. Someone came in and scooped up about 5,000 of this was, again, October 28th, so expiring the next Friday, the 5th, the 19 calls. And they paid 11 cents for these. And we thought, that's pretty optimistic. At 60 vol, you need about a two-handle spike over the course of the past week, or I should say the coming week, to make this thing pay off. And we had seen a lot of people throw a lot of good money away in the upside in Ford prior to this. Remember all the AUG 20s and 19 halves and 18s that all expire worthless. In September, we saw a lot of that as well. So there had been a series of people throwing away a lot of money to the upside in Ford. And it seemed like this person was just dedicated to doing the same thing. It wasn't a ton of money. It was only 11 cents, but 11 cents 5,000 times, that adds up. And they only gave themselves a week to make a pretty Herculean move in the stock. And Mr. Rock Lobster, take a guess where the stock closed on that subsequent Friday on expiration, sir.
I'm going to guess. It's a wild guess. How about at the strike?
Pretty much actually passed it. They needed it to get to 1911. It closed at 1929. So they made their money and then some. We mocked them, but they made close to $100,000. I'd say about $90,000 if they held these all the way through towards the end. Again, it's kind of hard to determine exactly when a 5,000 lot was closed these days in Ford listeners, because Ford is a hurricane of paper these days. But if they held these through, it looks like they did all right on these bad boys. So Mr. Rock Lobster, we mocked them. We said, you know what? They didn't really learn the lessons of all the previous traders. They went a little bit shorter term. If they had gone farther out, longer term, we would have liked this trade better. And this guy said, you know what? All I need is a week to make a nice 10+% move in Ford. And he was right.
Well, the reality is Ford is not the same stock that it used to be. So I think when you look at Ford, they have managed to rebrand themselves somewhat, not as good as Elon Musk did, because he's pretty much probably the most brilliant marketer and businessman, even though he doesn't even like being a businessman. For somebody who doesn't like doing it, he seems to have a good knack for it. But I think Ford has rebranded itself as an EV company. I still like it's a holding of mine. I think it's one of like the sleeper EV type companies, because it still trades at a multiple where there's really no growth attached to the multiple. And I think EVs, like, it's the future. They're going to put a lot of money into it. Now Ford has already had quite a run to this level, but I think actually, you know, even if you give it some kind of multiple, I still think that actually the stock price could double in the next year or two. So if they start selling these electric trucks, again, like the whole, like being long lithium, long Ford, all that stuff, I like all of those trades and have those, you know, and own different names for these. But I think Ford, you know, the reality is volatility in Ford stock is much higher than it used to be. If you look at like a 5-year chart, it actually, you know, it's moving around a little bit. So it feels like they're kind of rebranding it as a new thing. Like the average realized vol is about double what it used to be prior to the pandemic, before it became an EV company. So I think I still think there's a lot of potential there. So you could buy calls out of the money in Ford now and have a shot, whereas before you had no shot. So we mocked and we were wrong, and looks like this guy rang the cash register somewhat, though. You know, at least got a double on the call, so that's not bad. Almost you can get an okay used Ferrari, I guess, for $88,000, but
yeah,
we don't really count that on the call purchase.
No, it's not quite your girlfriend's Ferrari metric. It'll get you like a nice hatch door, or maybe like a nice couple of doors on a Ferrari. There you go. So you're getting there. You're not quite there yet. You got like maybe half of a Ferrari, a used Ferrari. All right, let's go back out. Now, this one's a little weird, but it's kind of funny, Mr. Rock Lobster. We talked about it back in late October here. So let's dive into it here. It was a weird one at the time. It was expiring on the 26th. So if that trade date is right, it was a pretty near-term trade. And it looked like a collar in Harley Davidson, Mr. Rock Lobster. Good old Hog. I haven't talked about Hog here on the show in a while. And yeah, I won't say where they're trading right now. That's a bit of a spoiler, even though we are a wee bit past expiration. Expiration was October 26th, so they went into the weeklies on these. It was the 3936 collar, Mr. Rock Lobster. Went up 3,387 times. The stock was 39 and about a quarter when these went up. And let's see, looks like paper sold the 133 calls aggressively. They crushed the bid. They were, let's see, $1.57 bid. They sold them for $1.33. And then they bought the puts for 53 cents. So those were through the offer. They were offered at 41 cents. So they did a crazy execution on this bad boy. Did the whole thing, obviously, for an 80-cent credit, which is impressive. But then again, they sold a call that was pretty much in the money, and they bought about a $3 out of the money puts on this. So that's why they were able to do this for a credit. Someone, if they had Hog Might be thinking maybe they want to get the hell out of Dodge. They weren't too excited about the prospects for an upcoming earnings announcement, which was the very next day. The earnings were the next day. So it was a immediate pre-earnings collar, Mr. Rock Lobster. And I said they did this whole thing for 80 cents. They bought those puts for 53 cents, a 36 put. Hint, hint. Take a guess where the stock went out on expiration day, sir.
Let's see. I'm going to say it at $36. $36.
That would be fun, but it's even more fun for this person if it went out at 35.47, which is exactly his break. I don't think I've ever seen that in all the years we've been doing the odd block. We've never seen an exact even break even on the puts. That means his puts he broke even. The calls he sold for $1.33. So guess what? He did all right on this collar. He made pretty much the full gamut, the full $1.33. Which is kind of interesting. So that's not quite $500,000, $450,000. Now, the weird thing about this, and when you do a collar, you usually do them against stock. So if we can assume that this is 1-to-1 against stock, then he's not quite as happy because he's out a little bit. He's out about $1.3 million on the stock. Still, the collar helped. The collar did its job. He got out, stopped himself out at the 36 strike, and he got paid $1.33 to do it net. So there are worse ways to go out if you had to, other than obviously selling the stock at the high. So you're talking he's out less than he would have been. You're talking he's out about $850 now as opposed to the full nearly $1.3 million out there. So interesting stuff. Mr. Rock Lobster, kind of a weird one here in Hog, but it seems like he was right to be spooked because the stock did give it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you supposed to do when you basically, the whole idea of a risk reversal is it should give you the choice. Like the stock can go down, and if it goes down, you have a few dollars of cushion. It's basically stock, but you have some cushion. I think as a trade, I think they did okay. I guess the stock's a little higher right now, right? I have to look. But
yeah, it's about $37
right
now.
Price, it didn't really cost them anything. That's why you do a risk reversal in the first place.
And that's why you should listen to the show, because you get to send in questions. So we got to get to them. Coming up against it, it is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody, let's get to the mail block. Our question of the week, fast and furious right now as VIX dances on the knife's edge. Will it close above or below 20 tomorrow, listeners? We are right there. We are pretty much pinning right now. Let's go around the horn. Mr. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you. What is your vote for this week? And our question of the week, VIX above or below 20? And then more importantly, what do you think our audience is voting for, sir?
I'll say below 20 on both fronts. I think that I'll be the bull with which I am, and the bull on the markets, that is. And so I think it'll be below 20, but I don't think it will be that much below 20. I'll say we're going to be in the high 18s, low 19s.
All right, Mr. Rock Lobster, same questions for you, sir.
Are these questions for this week, right?
For this week, for tomorrow, closing tomorrow, above or below 20?
I have to say, this action is, I don't usually disagree with Mike. I say it will be just above 20 tomorrow.
Interesting. So like a 20.01, so just thumbing its nose at us.
like literally just above 20. Even though it like contango and everything, it should be lower. Like I'm seeing vol expand today in VIX, and I find it odd. So I'm gonna go with my nose, and if they're bidding the vol up for no real reason, I'm gonna go with vol just being a little higher tomorrow.
Still flirting with the 20 handle, listeners. It refuses to break it, at least for right. It broke it. No, it got down to 20.07. Yeah, then bouncing and up to 20.33, then back down again. So yeah, still refusing, still bouncing off that 20 handle. Right now, listeners, you folks are about as split as our panel here. 51.4% saying above 20, 48.6% saying below 20. So still ever so slight. You got burned last week. I get it. So you're a little skittish about going full hog, pun intended, for the below 20. You got, looks like about, a little less than a day left to get out there and make your voice heard. Other people are saying just barely above 20 as well. A few people have chimed in, J4340 and others chiming in saying just barely. I know in our chat others have as well. So yeah, a lot of people are saying that just right where it is right now, just barely below 20. Mr. Uncle Mike, you're like this. Right before showtime, we had a listener, Ers 33 17 52 93. Say that 5 times fast. He right before showtime, he sent to us this picture. He said, I saw this little place driving by today. I had to stop for an early lunch. They're in Minnesota now. Who knew? And he sent us a picture, Uncle Mike, of a Portillo's cup. So we have converted yet another listener to the dark side of Portillo's. And they're in Minnesota, sir. Who knew?
Certainly not I. But that's exciting with old PTLO expanding its reach nationwide. I'm convinced I've put Dick Portillo's kids through college with all the money I've spent in that place.
Yeah, Portillo's trending a little bit lower now, off a little over $3 in the past week or so, about 8%, 36 and about a third. It did get up to about nearly 41.5 not too long ago. That was actually just yesterday. So giving it up out there today. But yeah, there we go. I recommend the Italian beef and sausage combo, the big one, if you're hungry. The ribs are also good, but ever since the pandemic kicked off, they seem to be a little bit lackluster on the ribs front. They don't really make them as much, and when they do, you have to wait like 40 minutes. So maybe skip the ribs, but especially if you're in the drive-through line. You don't want to drive through for 40 minutes. Beef and sausage combo, way to go. Uncle Mike, he likes the burgers there. I don't know who gets a burger at Portillo's. I guess Uncle Mike does. But outside of that, let's go to this one. Poor James, he's been waiting forever on this question. We just don't have time for it again, James. Let's go really quickly here. This is a fun one that kind of came in. This is related to our Options Bootcamp show. We had an episode recently we called Options Book Club. And we talked about kind of some good books beginner options traders should have on their shelves. We had a comment here from Heron Verno. Hopefully I'm not butchering that, Heron. It says, do you guys have the recommended book list anywhere? I wanted to check some of them, but I couldn't make a note of it since I was in the car. Having a full list on the site would be fantastic, though, so you can update it as you find more good news. That is a great suggestion. I think we're going to do that, so we'll put that on the website there, our Options Bootcamp recommended reading list. But I thought I would turn it to you folks to have a little bit of your thoughts here. Let's go to the Rock Lobster first. Someone comes to you, they're kind of a novice neophyte options trader. What are some of the books you think they should have, Mr. Rock Lobster, on their shelf?
Well, there's always the Natenberg. Actually, my son is reading that as we speak.
Excellent choice. That was our first guess as well. Everyone, myself and Dan, we all just said Natenberg. You kind of just Natenberg and you're done.
Yeah, I think if that's, I mean, there's other books that are wonkier. Like a lot of my students like the Ewan Sinclair books, stuff like that. If as a floor trader, the Ewan Sinclair, I think, gives a lot of more like floor tradery secrets, how vol works and stuff like that. That you just got used to trading vol as a floor trader. So I don't need that type of book, although his stuff is very good. There's also Macmillan if you want like the big version. I think your boy, the Option Pit Playbook is not bad either, just for like basic option strategies, because it's fairly easy to read, like, the graphs, pictures and stuff. So that's a nice.
I think you're referring to the options playbook. The options playbook as opposed to the Option Pit Playbook. The options playbook.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we have a great one. And Mark's books are very good too. Like the idea of running your option, if you want to trade options, just learn how to run a book of options, right? So you have some long, some short, some positive theta, some negative theta, and just learn how to run a book of options. So just if the market does something goofy one day, you're just not holding the bag. You actually have something that you can close to make money. So I think Mark's books are really good too, and they're fairly easy to read. He's got a lot of examples on trades. Like, these are trades that I've done. This is how they worked out. So he sells a lot of books. So I think those are certainly a good place to start if you want to kind of stay away from the Wonkyville of options.
The Wonkyville, yes. Mr. Uncle Mike, anything to add there? Books people should have on their shelf when they're getting started trading options?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily an option book. I mentioned it the other day. I think a good beginner trader book in general would be Reminiscences of a Stock Operator by Edwin Lefevre. Just a story about how Jesse Livermore did his trading back roughly 100 years ago. And it's very interesting just to see, hear, and feel what it was like for him back at that time, because a lot of those lessons that he talks about in that book still hold true today.
Yeah, you like that one. You recommended it a couple of times now. So you guys mostly hit on ones that we kind of hit on the show. We all kind of said Natenberg first. I like the Sinclair books. They're kind of good. You're right. They're kind of more second level. Once you kind of get started with these concepts, get familiar, then you can get into Sinclair. You're right. He's a little bit, as you put it, wonkier. I would say quantitative, but either way, both of those. They can be a little intimidating to a newcomer, but if you get a little bit more skin in the game, the Ewan Sinclair books are certainly great ones. Volatility Trading is probably the one he's most known for. And of course, a lot of you wrote in with questions about the Hull book, which is kind of the derivatives academic textbook du jour. That's another one. A lot of people got their teeth cut with that one. Again, we didn't get into textbooks as much. We're talking more kind of consumer books, but still, that's an interesting one as well. So that's a good suggestion there. What was the name again? A Heron. I think we will put together a print reading list for you folks, and we'll tweet it out and put it on the website, and you folks can see it and share your thoughts, and all sorts of fun can be had by all.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block. Let's do it. Let's go around the block and see what we're watching until our next episode on Monday. Let's start with the Uncle of Mike, so he's not busy reading and rereading Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Mr. Uncle Mike, what are you watching through the weekend, sir?
I just wanted to see if we have any new Optimus Prime or Delta Vacans or any new variants that come out, stuff like that does seem to happen over the weekend a lot of times. So watching that, also watching to see that important 4,700 mark in the SPX.
Indeed, I'm down with no more new variants for a while. I'm good with no more Unicrons. But hey, you never know what the weekend can bring. Mr. Rock Lobster, same question for you. What are you keeping an eye on until our next episode on Monday, sir?
I again, like VIX, that 20 level, important. Also, how the market reacts to all this China stuff. You got those pesky Russians in Ukraine, and you got the Fed possibly having a more hawkish course, which I think they probably won't, but they'll still pretend like they're going to. So those are coming up. And again, if you want to check out my stuff, optionpit.com memberships for all of our goodies. Don't forget, here's a little thing. If you're worried about the Omicron, there were people well into their 90s that survived the Spanish flu and still had antibodies in their system, somewhat 70 years later. So you got your shot and you've had the virus, you still got a pretty good shot to have some long-lasting antibodies. So no guarantees, but that is a Google searchable fact, quite easy to pick up. So
we got the Aaron Rodgers.
Don't worry about those.
The Aaron Rodgers medical advice being dispensed here on the show. Yeah, Spanish flu a little bit different. It kind of killed you or it didn't. This one a little bit different out there, but still intriguing stuff. That music, though, listeners, means we got to get the heck out of Dodge. Don't worry, I'll be back in exactly half an hour with my guest, Mr. Why am I blanking on his name right now? My guest, of course, to talk about all things micro ETH and everything else. Tim McCourt, of course, from CME over there. So I'll be back in exactly half an hour to do that. Before that, let's go around the horn. Let's go back to the land of the Unclest of Mike, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. If folks are intrigued, they want to hit you up, check out your vidges on the old YouTubes, or perhaps hit you up on Twitter or anything else. Where should they go? What should they do?
StCharlesWealth.com is my website. Feel free to check me out on YouTube. Just search St. Charles Wealth Management, or follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW, if you're looking for a financial advisor who delves and oftentimes likes being in the option product.
There you go, StCharlesWealth.com. And Mr. Rock Lobster, if folks want to hit you up to talk about all this trading going on, where should they go? What should they do? Oh, looks like we lost the Rock Lobster. Well, of course, you know where to go. Optionpit.com is the place. He's angry at me for calling him Aaron Rodgers. As we keep on rolling here, of course, we'll be back in exactly half an hour. Listen in live, get a beverage. We'll pump some fun stuff into the live chat, and then back again for TWIFO shortly. Other than that, back again tomorrow. Of course, Volatility Views, noon Central, and then Options Oddities right after that, 2 p.m. Central. So we'll see you then.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.